Wake up, Africa, your time has come. Open up your eyes and see the sun. Open up your spirit.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? There's a new book out there called Back to Black. It's Back to Black, right?
Yeah, Back to Black, Retelling Black Radicalism for the 21st Century.
Yo, you need to read that because, you know, there's a revolution going on among the Black nation. Africans globally are awakening. And I'm here with Professor Dr. Andrews.
Just Kehinde Andrews is fine.
Kehinde Andrews, but he's like a professor, you know, in the political sphere. And maybe for those who don't know you in Africa, maybe you can just like briefly introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Dr. Professor Kehinde Andrews, Professor of Black Studies at Birmingham City University, author of Back to Black, but we also started the Harambee Organization of Black Unity in Birmingham. So it's the reason I'm not that with Professor, it's a title, but the other stuff's probably more important.
I love it. I love it. So this book, Back to Black, you look at a lot of the radical movements across, you know, global Africa, right? What was the one commonality amongst them all?
No compromise. I think we're in a moment where we're being told that there's only one way to be. You have to kind of be as good a capitalist as you possibly can. Yeah. But actually, what we need is revolution, and that's what radicalism is about. And we've had revolutions across the African continent, but we need to go back to that revolutionary moment.
Why did our revolutions not, achieve the full liberation? Because in Kenya, we have this thing where we say, independence was like the first liberation, and then multi-partyism was the second liberation. But now we need the third liberation, which is hopefully the total liberation.
Partly because that first liberation wasn't liberation. Like if you actually look at what's happened, in Kenya you got your nation state, in Ghana you got a nation state, the Caribbean, but that was always the problem. Like if you look. So when I wrote the book, there's a chapter on PanAfricanism, and that was the most difficult chapter to write because I was always going to end with PanAfricanism. That's the radical vision. But actually, when you look at the history of that, there was a radical version which was no state borders. We're going to social African socialism, and that never happened, right? What you instead had was all these different nation states competing with each other to be basically just part of the West, and that's one of the main problems that we've kind of. Here in Africa, in the Caribbean, we've started to believe that this system can provide us with freedom, justice, and equality when it never can, right? And that's there's that reason, and then the other reason is they killed a lot of people, right? The revolutionaries in Congo, in Kenya, in the Caribbean, in Britain, in America, and so we just have to really wake up to where we need to be going in the future. So
where is it exactly that we need to be going in the future?
It's Back to Black. The reason I called the book Back to Black is because 50 years ago we were on a revolutionary. We were on a moment. Like when I talk about revolution now.
Yes, and the way it was like a domino effect with independences across Africa.
And Malcolm X, who's like my absolute favorite, is talking about revolution. That wasn't like when I say it now, it was like don't be ridiculous. That sounds crazy. But 50 years ago, it really wasn't sure that the West would survive. Communism, Pan-Africanism, Black Panthers, and that moment was a real important moment. And that's the moment where. They killed a lot of people, and we basically started to believe that we could get something in this system. So we need to go back to that politics, and that is Black radical politics.
But the truth of the matter is, if you look at all the famous Black revolutionaries, a lot of them have been taken out by the powers that be, and there's been this whole divide and conquer. So if they're talking about this being our moment, how do we protect our leaders?
The main thing is that we need more leaders. And I think part of the problem is we've relied on, I love Malcolm, but, Malcolm gets killed and then what happens? So, and the movement was what Malcolm was building when he died was the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which is really based on the Garvey movement, which, the Garvey movement had 5 million members. Garvey wasn't allowed into Africa because they were terrified what you do in Africa. And that's what we need to build, a movement that has millions of us across Africa, across the diaspora. And it don't matter if one person sells out or one person gets killed because you have that movement and that organization. That's what we failed to build, and that's what we need to start doing.
So what was the inspiration behind your book? Like, why did you decide to look at the radical struggles?
I'm talking about Black radicalism for a long time, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So it's about violence, or it's about culture, or it's about this, it's about that. And I just wanted to set that straight. So a lot of the book is saying, look, this isn't radical politics. Like, this does not. Actually, radical politics looks like this. And also, again, because when we talk about these things, people forget 50 years is not that long ago.
No, it's not.
that's
It's
a life-
like
that's-
they're still alive and kicking
right.
and well.
Yeah, and in 50 years, hopefully, I'll still be alive, right? So
Yeah.
it's not. You know, we have to understand, if we start to do the right things now, in the next 50 years, we could be having a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
But it's about re-sparking that in the imagination, because I think people have just lost that politics. I think.
But when you look at it, like there is like a global system that is very much at play, that is, you know, making it very hard for people to take that kind of stance or for that to happen. So how do we fight that? Like, you know, the New World Order. I don't know if you even believe in that.
Yeah, that is true. But then the Garvey movement had 5 million members across like 50 countries 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Barely had telephone back then. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook. It's almost unimaginable that they managed to build an organization like that. So actually today we have, like, I'm talking to you, this is going on YouTube. It's far easier in many ways to make those connections. I mean, definitely there's also it's more difficult in terms of surveillance, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But there's the thing that's stopping us, and the thing that's always stopped us isn't really the white man, it's us, right? And we just need to just work with what we have and build it.
No, but listen, you're being so polite because, like, we are part of the problem. You know, I want you to go deep, man. Don't want, like, seriously, you know, how are we? Because, you know, we are sometimes our own worst enemy, like, for real. But, you know, from a professor, like, tell us, like, how are we our own worst enemy at times?
Well, okay, so actually, in Back to Black, there's very few white people in that book. I mean, it really is it's about us, right?
Yeah.
And it's very critical of a lot of stuff and a lot of different movements and people.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of black people, right? Like why is it that we don't have revolutionary Pan-Africanism? Because you have some sellout Uncle Tom leaders. Let's just be honest,
always.
right?
I mean,
You
and I
really
think, like,
do,
the
right?
African continent is nearly 100%.
Exactly.
You know,
And you're still seeing the legacy of that today.
Yeah.
Where, you know, people wanted they wanted their government. They wanted their presidency.
Yeah.
They held on to it for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Even like some people who started off all right. Kenya was the perfect example.
Yo, we are the perfect example. And let's not even get into what's happening right now.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we have to stop blaming white people, I mean, we really do. We have to just say, look, we need to do better ourselves, and we need to be clear. And a part of it's about some of us really deluded into thinking that you're going to get freedom in the system, and you're not, right?
Yeah.
A part of it is about people generally just selling us out. And the other part of it is complacency, right? When I say, like, we've started to kind of give up, who's we? We's all of us. It's almost it, right?
We's you and me,
yeah,
man.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I don't.
But we
like
haven't given up. But I know what you mean. The majority of we is just, you know.
But and it's and that's why I don't like the professor title, because really, like, I know what that means. I know where I get paid. I know where, like, my job is. That's not revolutionary, right?
Yeah.
But because they've given some of us those jobs and those titles, this is again making you think that we're getting somewhere, we're progressing, but we're not progressing anywhere. In fact, it's worse than it was. So it really is up to us to make that difference.
So it's very interesting that you brought up how they give some jobs to kind of, you know, perpetuate the system or perpetuate or give us this false reality, because they're all about, you know, creating the false reality. Don't you think these kind of social and educational mechanisms have kind of like separated us as a people?
I mean, that's, if you look at,
and keep us divided.
Yeah, I mean, what's changed in the 50 years ago? Why could the Garvey movement get 5 million people? It's because when the Garvey people went around saying, this isn't for you, let's get out of here, everybody understood that was the case, because no one's going to make an argument, great, racism doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
But what they did, and it was a really clever thing, was they opened it up just enough so that some of us, me included, right, we can get these good jobs, and you can get a black president from Kenya, right? Even. And that gives this illusion that, you know, things are changing and things are progressing. It's kind of the worst thing that happened, right? And we need to get rid of that narrative. Hopefully, as a professor, me saying this, I'm telling you, it doesn't. Me getting professor, why is everybody celebrating? You ain't getting nothing. I got something out of it.
No, but like, so now I have to ask you, like, I mean, are you planning to put your mouth where your words are, or your feet where your words are, and like return to Africa or return to the Caribbean and help to build a new dream? I mean, was that the inspiration behind the book?
So like one of what we're doing right now is we started the Harambee Organization of Black Unity. I think it's really important that you struggle where you are. Right? Like, I can just go to Jamaica, wherever, like, but I'll just be taking those same privileges back to Jamaica.
Struggle where you are. That's deep. That's deep.
And actually, part of that inspiration is from Malcolm. So like, Malcolm spends his last year traveling around Africa, Ghana say to him, look, you're in danger in America, you don't have to go back, bring your whole family over here, come to, and some African Americans do that. But he says, look, nah, there's a problem in America. And that's where I'm born. So that's where I've got to build the first thing and then connect that into the African struggle. And so that's what we're trying to do. So, well, actually, let's build it where we are, let's connect that globally. And our honest aim is that in 5 to 10 years that we built the organization into an organization where I don't have to take this, I don't have to have this job. I can go and work in the organization.
Yeah.
Well, because of the failures, and we have to say these are the failures of previous generations, those organizations don't exist that can sustain us as people and activists, right? I got kids, I got to eat. So I got to be in this job. But hopefully, if we build the organization to a level, it won't be the case. I'll go work in the organization, other people can come work in the organization. So if I'm still at Professor in 10 years, you call me a sellout.
Okay, we'll look for him in 10 years. I don't know where Dr. Bumbisho will be then. I could be in State House. I could be, in a boathouse somewhere. Anyway, those are stories for other days. But like, so what do we do? What's our formula? Like, seriously, what's our formula for seriously? I know you've hinted at a bit of it, but like in plain, 1, 2, 3, what would you say it would take for us to transform the Black nation in like 10 years?
So one, we have to build the Black nation. So the Black nation doesn't exist at the minute, right? It's an idea, it's like a nice sounding thing.
It's beautiful sounding.
Exactly. But what we actually have is a series of these different nation states, and that's the problem. Like literally is the problem. So let's just stop that. The blueprint for the Organization of Afro-American Unity, or the organization the government was the Universal Negro Improvement Association, really was building the nation, where people join, they pay a fee like tax, right? You have, in Birmingham, we'd have a branch that has a education department, health department. Basically, we're just building a Black government, but we're building it in a way that's local and global, so that when you add up all of these different, if we build chapters across the world and you add them all together and people are putting their taxes in and we've got a government, there you go, you just build a like it exists. Imagine that organization.
That's amazing.
How much money it would have, how much connections it would have, how much, that's what revolution looks
and the
like.
Ismailis do something like that, it's like so that's what we're saying is let's bring because some of this stuff exists, let's bring it together, put it into one place, but that's it, like build that organization. It's not complicated. Because we talk a lot, but when it comes to the action, we're all like, where are my chicken wings? Anyway, your final thoughts, like to a young Black man who's listening to you across the world right now, what would you say to him?
Revolution is possible. Like, that's really important. Like, that's what the book's about. Revolution is possible, and we just need to start reimagining. So the first thing is reimagining. So for the organization, we focus on education, like really education, adult education, young people education, even Black studies at university, trying to bring that in there as well. So imagine that it's different, and then go organize, right? There's a quote that Kwame Ture said. He came and did a tour he came to Birmingham actually in '83.
Nice.
And he's like, if you're not organizing, you're not in the struggle. So let's stop talking. Like, let's stop talking and let's stop doing. Right? And I talk a lot, so like, but we got to back up that talk.
Doing it as well.
Do it. So join an organization and be part of the struggle, because the struggle's there and it's ongoing and it's real.
Wow. The struggle is there, it's ongoing, and it's real. Thank you so much, Professor. That was deep. Join us next time. It's been real.